My name is Andrew Tony. This is the persuasive speech for Comm 201, and today is May 1st, 2020. There are times in our lives when we don't get our way and we don't get some things the exact moment that we want them. When we face times like this, patience is a very important and useful virtue to have. Patience is a virtue, but it's also a very hard character trait to obtain. Many of us tend to get irritated when we're doing everyday tasks and some smaller problem arises, but it's important for us just to sit back, stay calm, and be patient. We all have problems in our everyday lives, and here are some problems I've had throughout my life where patience came in very handy. As an outdoorsman, it's very important to be patient whenever you go hunting or fishing. Whenever you go hunting, it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to kill something. There are times whenever you can sit for hours on end and you never see a thing. I have a deep passion for hunting, but just because I go all the time doesn't mean every time I go that I'm successful. You can sit in a stand for 3 or 4 hours at a time and not see a single thing. But it's important just to be patient and to sit still and stay quiet. One time I was hunting and I'd probably sat for 3 or 4 days, sat for hours on end, and had not seen a single deer. And I hadn't killed anything throughout that entire week. But then I remembered that my dad had told me that whenever you started getting restless and impatient, you needed to sit back, stay calm, and be quiet, and be patient. Eventually something would come out. Just as I was getting impatient, I remembered what he said, and I'd sit there and stayed quiet, and within another 30 or 45 minutes I was staring at 5 or 6 deer. And because I was patient, I was actually able to harvest one of the deer. Patience can be even more of a virtue in fishing. If you think you have to have patience to hunt, then fishing is probably not for you. Fishing takes patience to an entire different level. There's so many different factors that comes into play whenever you're trying to fish, and if you mess one of them up, it can mess up your entire trip. There's so many things that can go wrong. You could have the wrong bait, you could be reeling it in too fast, or things like the weather could be too bad and they're just not biting. And some days they just don't bite and you can go the entire day without catching anything. One time I was fishing with my dad at a lake, and we had fished all morning, hadn't caught a bite. We had been moving from spot to spot all morning and not catching a thing. We felt like giving up, wanted just to go home, but we stayed patient and we kept moving around and finally found a spot where all the fish were. And eventually they started biting, and we ended up catching a lot that day. Patience can also come in handy in other things in our life, such as if you have a puppy and you're trying to raise it. Puppies are, if you don't know, are an extreme nuisance when they're very young. They're like children, they don't know any better, and you have to teach them the difference between right and wrong, just like any child. Raising a puppy is not for somebody that is impatient. It takes a lot of patience to work with them because they'll use the bathroom in your house, they'll tear up your shoes, they'll chew up wires underneath your car. That happened to us with a puppy we had a long time ago, actually. And they're a nuisance. And if you don't have the patience for them, you usually end up giving them away, or they just will stay bad if you don't train them once they get older. And they will destroy everything you have. Puppies don't come potty trained. Most of the time, whenever you buy a puppy, especially if you get it after it's just been born from a breeder, they're usually not trained yet. So it takes a lot of patience to be able to work with them and try to teach them that they need to use the bathroom outside. And it can be very frustrating whenever they don't and they use the bathroom in your home. But you also have to have patience to teach them how to listen and to behave properly. You have to teach them not to bite people, not to bark at every little thing that comes out, not to chew on your couch pillows or your shoes or things like that. And actually, last night I was having this problem myself. My brother has gone out of town this week, and he had asked me to take care of his dog, and he has a little 3 or 4 month old lab puppy named Addie, and she is an absolute nuisance. She does not mind. She does things just for spite, and she's constantly chewing on something. I would take something away from her, she'd go find something else. I'd take something else away, and she'd just come back and bring something else and start chewing on it. She's like a child. She just needs constant attention, and that can make simple tasks very difficult. But as the week went through, I would stay patient with her, and eventually she got to where she wasn't chewing on things as bad, and she was going outside to use the bathroom rather than doing it on the inside of the house. Patience is not a very easy trait to have, but somebody that really had patience was Martin Luther King. He once said, "The people with fortitude and patience to carry on their goal over the long haul are the ones with the greatest chance of actually achieving them." That came from a website, Acrolinks, back in 2017. He showed the world that by having patience, he could help you succeed in your goals and tasks in life. He was very patient whenever he wanted to achieve the goals that he set for himself in life. He was mocked and ridiculed by everybody that did not believe in him, but because he stayed patient, he eventually achieved his goals, even though it may have been after his lifetime. He didn't care what other people thought. He had a goal, and he knew what it took to get there. His house was even bombed because people could not stand his beliefs and what he stood up for. But he stayed patient. He didn't act out of violence. He didn't retaliate and try to get revenge. He just sat through it. Martin Luther King was a big inspiration for me because he was not afraid to show his beliefs. He never lost his cool, and he was also always patient with other people. He was ridiculed because he wanted to have the same equal rights for everybody, and most people back then did not believe in this. His house was bombed, and his family was inside. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but Martin Luther King showed his patience by not retaliating and focusing on the bigger picture. Martin Luther King, he never responded out of violence. He always did all of his things non-violently, and was super patient even though people would try to break up his crowds violently, but he stayed through it. He endured a lot, but he was also patient, always patient. So why can't we be more like him? When I'm sitting in traffic or something after a long day of work and I'm just trying to get home, it makes me feel like I'm going to scream because I just get impatient from just sitting there after being gone all day. But then I remember that it's out of my control. It's not anybody's fault. The construction workers that work on the road, or if there's an accident, the police and medical units, they're doing their best to make sure that everybody's getting the proper care that they need, and that things are going to continue to run smoothly. So at times like this is when I sit back and just stay calm and be patient, because I know it's not in my control. I believe that patience is a very important virtue and that we all can benefit from. Next time you're in traffic, or hunting or fishing or raising a puppy or anything day to day, I challenge you, instead of being impatient and getting mad and giving up, to just sit back and realize that and be patient, and realize that if this is the biggest problem you have, that it's nothing compared to what other people have faced.